It was an American visitor to the bakery that said to me, but wait a second. When you're explaining me the sourdough, what you're saying is that in this piece of dough, there's a piece of 1932? And I was like, yeah. Sourdough is a piece of dough from the previous batch, which serves as a starter for the following batch. There is a million little organisms that have worked together and that will nurture the growth of the following batch. Hello, I'm Apollonia Poilâne. I am the third-generation baker in charge of Poilâne, my family's business in the heart of Paris. For me, a tradition is something that has movement. It's not static. It's something that you need to transmit so that it carries on going.
En principe, il y a 40 ans que je fais du pain, mais ça fait 15 ans seulement que j'ai mis mon nez dans la fabrication du pain et pour savoir ce que c'était du pain et comment on pouvait faire du bon pain.
My grandfather was from Normandy, and he had grown up with these country-style wheat sourdough breads. Sourdough is about that continuity. Sourdough is about the link between generations of bread and generations of humans. It was bread that brought together people. It's what created a sense of community. And that is what started Poilâne. At Poilâne, we bake on average 3,000 to 5,000 loaves every day. We bake them in our stores and in our manufacture, where each loaf is handmade. In our manufacture, we use the exact same process, except that we have 24 ovens. Our ovens are wood-fired.
Et la cuisson au bois change quelque chose?
La cuisson au bois change beaucoup la qualité, parce que lorsqu'on cuit au bois, on obtient une cuisson beaucoup plus pénétrée, beaucoup plus sèche et plus facile à assimiler et à digérer.
We have a nice, well-rounded and well-baked crust. It's one that is a crust that will both protect the dough, but permeate a little bit of the air so that it can help the bread keep longer. There's two things to recognize a nicely baked loaf. First thing, we prop it up and we knock on its back. And if it sounds like we're knocking at a door, we're good. And as they cool off, they lose a little bit of water. And as they lose a little bit of water, they start crackling. And that little crackling is what I call the song of the bread. Paris is the place that I grew up in. I have a French father, an American mother. My parents were very special people. My mom was an architect and designer, and my father was a baker and a pilot and so many other things. They were unique because they did not settle for the status quo. They would always question what this is about, what is the meaning. They would always go further than the surface. Poilâne is located in a very unique neighborhood. There were politicians, philosophers, artists, people from around the world. And one of these people were Salvador Dali. And from that connection, a whole bedroom made out of bread was an order that Salvador Dali made to my father.
C'est le début de tout ton mobilier dans le matériel le plus noble et le plus obsessif, à mon avis, que c'est le pain.
Some of my earliest childhood memories at the bakery are spending time in the bakehouse. I loved coming to the bakery because it was a space where all of your senses were opened up and triggered. You got to taste the dough. You got to smell smells that you wouldn't have at home. You had the warmth of the oven. I had the bustling movement of the teams working in the shop, working in the pastry lab, working in the bakery. And I think that that was the most beautiful introduction I could have had to my craft. I started baking bread when I was 16. My mother said to me, if you're serious about taking over the family business one day, you need to know how to bake bread, and it's time. And I started working in the bakehouse. And then I carried on my apprenticeship for the 2 years after that, until circumstances pushed me at the head of Poilâne. On October 31st, 2002, I was 18 years old, and my parents passed away in a helicopter accident. When the announcement of my parents' passing happened, for me there was a sense of obviousness that I was following my father's footsteps, because I knew that I would take over one day. It just was happening much sooner than planned. The uniqueness of the moment and how the brutality with which it happened just didn't call for questions. In over 2 decades that I've run my family's business now, every day I wake up and I understand layer by layer why it is that I have chosen this craft. Our craft is a craft that requires a lot of precision. We barely have a thermometer and a clock, but that's enough. What it does is that understanding of what is the right gesture, what is the right ingredient, what is the right detail, because detail is everything. For me, tradition, it's the understanding that we do a gesture for a reason. We understand its reason. We're not just repeating a gesture, but we have a know-how. So here we are in my book library. Here is all about bread, grain, milling, and baking traditions. Now, that book is about 100 years old. It lends photography for the first time. There's some of the very first photographs on bread. And I think what's really important is that these are documents that have made it through time and that are transmitters of both the know-how, but also they show the importance of bread. Having this knowledge is unique. There's no other bakery in the world that has that many documents on bread baking. That one is late 18th century. This one is early 19th century. I think there's a lot of parallels between the story of Birkenstock and Poilâne, where it's about a certain know-how, convictions and perseverance about a product and what it does. Do you mean, do I wear Birkenstock for fashion reasons? No, I wear Birkenstocks because it's the perfect shoe that bridges my worlds between the super sophisticated city and the grassroots countrysides. When my grandfather started, he was really at odds with everything else that people were doing. He was discarded. Everybody thought he was crazy. He was told by the bakery institutions of the time that what he was doing was old-fashioned and that modernity was about white bread and smaller formats. On this block that we are at, on Rue du Cherche-Midi, there were 6 bakeries. 6! And today, there's only 1.